we are still dancing around the bush as opposed to hitting the bush.
It's ours.
No. First you go after conversions, please. Please understand how this ecosystem works. And that's where I think we are failing, and that's surprising. Why are they appropriating the sabji, the roti, or rather everything else in the thali except the roti? Why are they appropriating everything else and just leaving this unappropriated? They don't touch it at all. Why? Because when the new convert steps into the new home, they want him to feel comfortable and reduce the level of shock that he goes through because of a civilizational change or a cultural change. So when you appropriate each of these aspects, the church is now in the same mold as the temple, making it easy for him to say, "Kya badal gaya? Yehi to hai." And my philosophy says everything is equal and everything is the same. We don't even understand what is the context of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, but we keep mouthing it over and over again. Okay? And therefore, we decide therefore these people adopt each of these or appropriate each of these markers of identity to facilitate conversions with ease. That's the first thing that you need to understand. Second, they want to undermine and erode every aspect of your identity which gives you confidence. Therefore, your positive achievements are being taken away from you. Therefore, all you will be left with are sati, dowry, caste, untouchability, and that's it, and a history of defeatism accordingly. I mean, that's how they've effectively portrayed your history, that you've lost and yet you've survived miraculously. I don't know how that works. But the point is, as long as you do not have the guts to take a position against fraudulent conversion, you will continue to ask this question. Today they'll appropriate this, tomorrow they'll appropriate something else. It's legally very difficult to try and protect all of this without addressing the central question of identity. And I'm repeating the answer that I gave elsewhere. If 1.3 billion Hindus or 1.3 billion Indians decide to convert to one faith out of their own volition, can you stop them? No, you can't. If it is a conversion born out of conscience, out of a change of heart. However, if other incentives are being given and they're being induced, at the very least you must be in a position to take a position against fraudulent and induced conversions. That is something that you must start with. The day you start doing this is when they will know that this is not to be touched. Because then they will not have an incentive to touch it anymore, because they cannot achieve what is the ultimate goal, which is proselytization, harvesting of souls. So why don't we start talking about it? What is wrong in saying that fraudulent conversion from or to Hinduism is problematic? You're not protecting your street alone, you're also protecting somebody else's identity. You're saying fraudulent conversion by any person to any faith. Start taking a position. There are countries which have anti-conversion laws. So if somebody tells me how is this legally enforceable, there are ways and means to do it. But the moment you take such a position, that reflects your seriousness about this particular issue. Otherwise, you're only interested in protecting something else. I'll give you another example. So every time we talk about Israel, I have geniuses telling me, Israel is a startup nation, Israel is this, Israel is that. Then you're missing the point of being Israel. The success of that state lies in being able to retain its Jewish identity despite hundreds of UN resolutions against it every year. Even Sudan does not have as many resolutions against it passed by the United Nations as Israel has. Imagine. If you look at the history of the number of UN resolutions being passed against Israel, it's astounding. What is it that the country has done to merit these kind of... Pakistan doesn't get so many resolutions. Zimbabwe doesn't. No country which is being run by drug lords gets these kind of resolutions. But Israel gets it. The only possible democracy in that volatile region, which has adopted for itself a religious identity and still promises equality to everybody else. 8.5 million people in that particular country, 2.5 million Arabs, they enjoy equal rights as the Jews in that particular country. And still people have a problem with that state because they have a problem with the Jewish identity. That is the same issue with us. Nothing that you do which is right will ever be lauded or you will be given credit for because they have a problem with that identity. If this is fear-mongering, so be it. I don't care a damn about making this statement because I know what I'm talking about. This is a fact. Somebody has to say it, I'll say it. So start taking a position about protecting your fundamental identity.